Everybody, welcome back. It's me, Yumble, and today I'd like to show you how I approach building a 4-level stack interchange. A stack is one of the probably most popular ways to connect four different directions, two different roads. In this case, you can see we've got our main highway going down the middle, and then there's this other intersecting one, and I don't want them to miss each other. I want them to connect to one another so that traffic from this lane can turn right and left. Traffic from this side should also be able to turn right and left. And the same thing for this one. I want them both to go straight through and be able to turn in any direction. As I said, it's going to be a stack interchange, 4-level stack. It's a free-flowing interchange, so just like the just like the trumpet we did in last episode, it's a free-flowing interchange, but this one is 4 directions, where the trumpet is 3. So this is very, very useful if you're trying to cross the highways and also have them connect. I'm sure there's a bunch of different ways to do this. I'm going to give you my take on how to build a 4-level stack interchange. So as a first move, I'm actually going to take our highway, and this is going to be a little bit crazy, but I'm going to run it right into the already existing highway, just so we can see exactly where our roads are going to have to go. Basically, a stack interchange is 4 levels high. 4-level stack, I keep saying it. It's 4 levels high, and there's going to be a lot of roads going over and under one another. And right now, I have to see where those crossroads are going to go and what heights they're going to be at. So a good move to start with for this sort of thing is to have a height template. I know we're not going to be doing anything over here, so I'm going to start our height template. We are going to need a negative 12 meter road. So you can see I'm using fine road tools here. We've got forced ground, so I don't want to make a tunnel. I want to make a negative 12 meter road. I want to make of course, like ground level. We don't really need a guide for ground level, but it's going to be negative 12 meters, ground level, positive 12 meters. Let's see, where's a good place? We want this one to be elevated now. Positive 12 meters. And we're also going to need positive 24 meters. So these will be our guides, our height guides effectively, where anytime two roads cross at different grades, this is where we will use move it. We will select the node that we need to move, for example, and we will move it to object height. Boom. That's insane. We're not doing that, but that's just, for example, makes it really easy. Rather than tinkering with everything as you're going, I don't recommend like tinkering. Know exactly the heights you're going to use and stick to the template. You know, I know if we're underground, it's negative, or if we're lower than ground, negative 12. Above ground is either 12 meters high or 24 meters high. That takes care of all the guesswork. A stack will always have roads kind of going diagonally across the roads we have here. So I'd really like to get some guide roads. These aren't going to remain connected. This is just for measuring purposes. But I would love to get some guidelines going for these roads. And I'm going to use precision engineering. Precision engineering is a mod for Skylines where you go, you connect to a node, and if you hold control, it gives you this handy little, you'll see the degrees there. So I'm looking for 45 degrees on each of these just as a guide. There might be even easier ways to do this. Let me know in the comments if you can think of an easier way to do this, but that's my favorite way to approach this. And to complete the guide, now that we've got our spots here, I want to draw 2 units. Pretty sure we did 2 unit spacing on our previous little build that we did. Yep, 2 unit spacing will be fine. This is for highway ramp, for the record. So I'm just doing 2 units. And node snapping has to be off for this, so make sure to turn off node snapping before drawing these in. And for some of you, this may not be necessary. If you can think of a better way to do this, I am all for it. But this is my personal favorite. And this will give us guides on where our diagonals are going to go. So when you turn road guidelines on, now we have these handy-dandy markers. So we'll know exactly, like let's say that the roads start here. Let's say that this is the beginning. Now we know that this is perfect. That's I'm a bit of a perfectionist with this, and that's why I make all these guides. But yeah, that's a good starting point. Now let's disconnect these roads. What did I say? I think I said I wanted the crossing one to go over the top. I just built basically the whole thing before I came to that conclusion, but I'm going to do it again. It means I'm fresh. It means I'm fresh, and I got the I've got the skills to do it since I just did it. So we're going to start at this node. This is the 35 units away from the center node, so 35 units back is just the measurement. Yours might be 40. You can make it whatever you want. You don't have to follow exactly what I'm doing per se, but I happen to pick 35 as my number. And we're going to use our guide road here. This guide road is going to come into play. So we're going to make an elevated road that goes from there to this guideline right here. You'll see that we get a nice little, if you use road guidelines, you'll get a nice little snap there off that guideline that we positioned. And this one's going to go to positive 12. Positive 12 meters. I have straight slope turned on. Sometimes this doesn't work the way I expect it to, but right now it is. Straight slope is turned on, so we got a nice road that goes up at a nice even grade and stops where this intersects. So that's exactly what we want. This road, let's say this is our first road here, is going to go all the way around to the other side. So check this out. When I say all the way around, I mean, think about where this road's going. If this is a left-hand turn, it's going to go all the way around to here. So let's mimic that same thing, but on the opposite side with oncoming traffic. So we're going to do this. We're going to go to the guideline that we determined earlier, and that guideline can be any number of places. All the numbers that I pick are almost arbitrary. You can do whatever you want, but I happened to pick, 10 units diagonally to make that little guy there to get guidelines. And I happened to pick 35 units from the center to get this amount. As long as you're consistent, you'll get great results. That's really all that matters. So now, in theory, we should be able to take our freeform road tool. We're going to go turn node snapping back on, 90 degrees off of this. We should get about 180 there. 179.5, I'll take it. That's within, that's close enough for government work, right? So we've got it. I'm going to have to go back and kind of add some pillars in to some degree, just for appearances, but functionally that's going to work great. If we do the same thing on the other side, it comes out something like this. Cool. So that went really well. We've got this is the original one that you saw me do. So that's a left turn. And then our next left turn originates from the opposite side. So we're going up and over, left turn. And once again, these are stopping at the guidelines created by this thing here. So this guideline here is where that stops. So we're going up to positive 12, stopping at this point. It stops at the same spot on both sides. That's perfect. And it comes out like that. So we're halfway done. We've got our crossroads done. We've got our left turns for this side done. We need to do our left turns for this side. So let's see exactly what that looks like. I'm going to replicate the same process, but instead, this time I'm going to go up to 16 meters apart. I'm going to go up to 24 meters high. Straight slope is on. Node snapping is turned off to get the initial node, and then you can turn node snapping back on. It might help with the guide. We're going to go to this line that we have here, and we're going to crank this all the way up. Hopefully this grade doesn't look too crazy, but we're going to go all the way up to 24 meters high. Looks good to me. Yep, I like that. It's quite a bit steeper than this one is, but the bigger you make the interchange, the less steep that grade will be. The more runway you give yourself, the longer you make the interchange, the less severe that grade will seem. And we're going to replicate the same thing on this side here, so we're going to go back down to ground. You can hit the home button on keyboard if you're playing on PC to get back to ground. That's something I didn't learn. I didn't learn it for a very long time. Saves you a lot of time because you end up going back to ground quite a bit. So we're going to bring this up to 24 meters high, just because that's a nice number. There we go. We're looking for this. Is that hitting it? Where is it? There's going to be a magic spot. There it is. Beautiful. Hover over the guideline, you get that nice 24. And then to connect these, hit freeform road. Leave it at positive 24, give yourself a 90-degree angle, and freeform over to the other side. Would you look at that? Now we're getting somewhere. Excellent. We're going to have to add the pillars in later, is the thing. There's going to be there's going to be a pillar, you know, a pillar a little bit closer to here probably, but we'll paste those in a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side, just a moment. There we go. So now we really look like we're getting somewhere with the stack. I've converted it all to highway roads, highway ramps specifically, so now you can really see the kind of appearance that it's going to have. Really all that's left to do is connect all the roads to the highway, get that settled, get that straightened out. Then it'll be fully functional, and I'll probably take a little time to dress it up. There's a thing called Node Controller that you can download on PC, and it actually makes it so these peaks aren't so severe. You know, you can use a curved. I'll show you what that looks like in just a second, but you can convert things to curved. But yeah, let's get these all connected. This is the way I do it. I'd like to. I'm thinking 24 meters is the way to go. In the last video, we did 24 meters. I liked that result a lot. So using precision engineering combined with your freeform road tool, make a 90 degree off the ramp, hold shift, and you'll see when 24 meters appears. Beautiful. And then we'll go, well, it's not, but we'll fix it. And then we're going to go 90 degrees off of that to the other side, and that will determine where the other side is going to go. Once you have that node created, just so it's identical for cleanliness, and that is great. Now all that's left is to downgrade this one to 2-lane. This should sort itself out. This one's backwards. But yeah, that's what it is. I'm going to do that on every single side, just using precision engineering, making that connection, making the 90, making the other connection, converting it. Give me just another moment to take care of that. Looking good. Cool. So it's all connected on all the different sides. The connections should look the same all around. Bingo, bingo. They're all a 24 by 24 kind of compound curve using the freeform road tool. But yeah, I like the angle of the curve we got here. We'll see if this stays. For now, I'm going to change it back. But I like what we did as far as angles go. I'm going to go in and maybe try to finagle an extra pillar or two by going around like this and hitting copy and then seeing where we can fit a pillar in all this madness. Because there will be spots. Here, actually, let's do it just like this. That's a good spot for a pillar. Just because something has to hold this whole thing up. Something has to be in here. And that actually looks good. Typically, right at the end of the curve is the weak spot. That's where you'd want the pillar in real life. I'm not an engineer. Please don't engineer a road based on anything I'm saying. I just want it to look like it could function. That's really all there is to it. As long as this looks like it's plausible enough to function, I'm here for it. So same deal. I'm just using move it. I selected one of the other pillars. And we're just moving them into position, just to make it look like the road is being held up. Because we used a lot of anarchy on this thing. There's a lot of anarchy going on. And you know, the way that I'd recommend doing it is just copy from each pillar, from each different height. So those two pillars complete that height. This one, you can copy it, and it'll complete the height over here. I don't want the pillar to be in the road. The road is like the perfect spot for the pillar to go, except that it's in the road. We want it to go right in this little nook here, so it's centered on the ramp, and also not in the road, is all I'm trying to do. If we can get the same thing on this side, that would be awesome. Look at that, they're already using it. No problem. There we go. I'm not going to bother rotating them or anything like that. I think that looks much better. There we go. If you've ever driven through a stack or any sort of tall interchange, then this should be a somewhat familiar sight. That looks very good. I think I'm going to take a moment and detail a little bit and you know, get some intersection marking tool, put some bushes around it. The usual suspects. You know how it goes. I'll be back in just a second. Okay, guys. Some of you probably noticed I've started detailing. This is looking good. But there's something missing in this interchange, and it's all of the right-hand turns. The left-hand turns are the hard part, fortunately, but I almost neglected to put in right-hand turns. There are a couple different approaches to this. One is the lazy approach, which is that. Which is pretty lazy. I mean, that'll function. That'll work. They can make the right-hand turn there. You can jazz it up a little and turn it into a curve. That's one way to do it. But the way I'd recommend doing it, fortunately, this is insanely easy, is you just take this node. You take your original peak, and you go off of it as if it were going to continue straight, and then you simply connect it to the opposite one, right? And it'll look a little funky, but you can just move it, and if you give it the slightest nudge, just a little teeny nudge, it actually fixes it entirely. So I'm going to go around. It should only take a moment, actually. Just do that. I'm so sorry, everyone. Some of you were probably wondering, hey, what's this guy doing? Where's the right-hand turns? They were in there. They're just the easiest part, so I wasn't even thinking about them. They were just an afterthought. You would notice, if you were driving, you would realize that that there aren't any right-hand turns. Your GPS would notice, without a doubt. Just a little nudge so that the textures don't overlap. So yeah, that's the way that I recommend doing that. I'm going to finish detailing it, and then we'll look at it, give it a bird's eye view in just a second. Now it's got right-hand turns. Hopefully they're all facing the right direction, etc. The cars are going to love it. Thank you so much, guys. Just a moment. And there we have it. I think I'm going to call that completed at this point. It's all functional. All the right-hand turns are still there. Wow, close one. I was looking at it like, wow, it's done. That's easier than I remember even. But no, it needs the right-hand turns, and you'll see the people will thank you because half of them are going to want to turn right at any given. More than half in some places. Some things that you could do to improve it further. Things like adding 2 lanes here, and maybe adding a 4-lane highway. Like, check the lane math, and if there's merging happening that's holding you back, you can always adjust that. I didn't want to take the time to do it on this one. It's not necessary. But if you have higher traffic needs than my current city does, then maybe consider that. Also, just a clever little tip. I do this on most of my sunken interchanges. Watch any of my other videos where we're doing interchanges. But I usually do a key wall on the side along the highway. So if you do a sunken section, you can use key anarchy. And if you're real lucky on this one, the pillars line up right where the key is, and you'll see that it just looks like they're embedded in there, which I think is pretty nice because it's already concrete. That's already in there. But yeah, you end up with this cool like concrete jungle look underneath while you're in all these pillars and all the foliage that you might make. Also, intersection marking tool and node controller are very important. Node controller increases the size of the transition so it's not so awkward, and intersection marking tool allows you to fill in that space with some useful markings and such. Yeah, there it is. That's the stack, the Interchange of Legends. Definitely the biggest undertaking I've done in this series on YouTube. But also, guys, feel free to check me out on Twitch. I stream at least 2 days a week these days. Sometimes more, but feel free to come over and ask questions, come hang out with the community, join up. It's a lot of fun. And definitely subscribe to me here as well. Many of you who watch the videos are not yet subscribed, and maybe you forgot. Did you forget to hit the button? Maybe you did. Feel free to go down and hit the subscribe button if you got anything out of this video, or even if you just enjoyed yourself. That's all I got. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next stream or the next video.